Hey guys, hey, it's your girl Renee Hector from Homeschool Revival. I'm so glad you were able to jump on our webinar today. We are going to be talking about what's going on inside the Teacher's Lounge. So let's get started. Make sure you have something to write with, your pen, your notebook, your planner, whatever it is, get it out. We are going to be using it. All right, so let's get started. So again, this is a webinar to walk you through the foundational aspects of what we do in the Teacher's Lounge. So the Teacher's Lounge is for homeschool moms, and it's where you can get partnership, support. We'll talk about all of that. But again, this is part of the umbrella of Homeschool Revival, where you get mom coaching, the Teacher's Lounge, as well as access to recess and results. Our team includes myself, Renee Hector, social worker, educator with over 20 years of experience helping families meet the practical realities of life. And of course, Maria Parsons. She's also an educator, a homeschool mom, a coach helping Christian moms successfully navigate the journey of homeschool life. So we are here because we are in this with you, and we have found some support with one another, resources, and we've pulled them together, and we want to help you not have to recreate the wheel, and also to ease your transition or your journey in homeschooling. The Teacher's Lounge for Homeschool Moms, again, is where homeschool moms meet for resources and support. Have you actually ever been in a Teacher's Lounge? Depends on what school it is, elementary school, high school, what state, what country. Some are very comfortable. I've seen teachers' lounges with massage chairs, with tons of food. I mean, music going, the ambiance is nice. And then some are kind of bland. So people may not know that the Teacher's Lounge is where you're supposed to be refreshed, ready to go out and face your students, where you're going to get resources, where you're going to get what you need to continue on your assignment, your calling, your journey. And so we've kind of set that up for you in an online kind of way. So a lot of our interaction is online. We have weekly homeschool support via live calls where we plan together, we parallel plan, we bounce ideas off of each other. Just this week, we had a training on documentation. And then we also have chat support in our private online community. And then something that's really important for homeschoolers is resources. So we are able to pull together resources to assist you, again, in making your journey a little bit easier. And then, of course, the guidance and support from people who are doing it. And homeschool mom productivity coaching, which Miss Maria Parsons specializes in, and she's excellent and has a number of programs, but you get access to that in the Teacher's Lounge for homeschool moms. And then, of course, prayer and devotions for your homeschool. What can you do without a blessing of God, without his guidance, without his support? Nothing. Okay. Unless the Lord builds the house, they that labor build in vain. And so we ground a lot of what we do in prayer, in praying for one another, praying for you. And we go to the word for guidance to guide us in what we should do. And so these are the aspects of the Teacher's Lounge, and it's been working. We are very glad. And so we're glad that you were able to connect with us to kind of get that groundwork done, so that you can jump in when you're ready and not be behind. One of the things that we like to do is look at Psalms and how they apply to moms. So we have a Psalm for mom today. It's from Psalm 139, verse 10. Even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Psalms 139, verse 10. It's a blessing. And so I believe that so many of the Psalms are especially for us homeschool moms. I think that most of us feel that we've been led to homeschool, that we've been called to homeschool, that is what God wants us to do. And so we see that he's been leading us in this journey. And it continues, that not only has he led us in this journey, but his right hand, his strong arm is holding us up. And that is just so encouraging when you feel like you're floundering out there, you're on your own. You are not. Our God is with you. He's holding you up, and he's going to continue to lead you on this journey so that you can give the best that you've got to the children that he has given you. So what we like to do in the beginning is to do some introspection, do some reflection. We also do some projection and assessment. And these things help us to really set the foundation of our homeschool. It's really important that we look at these different aspects of what we consider homeschooling so that we can get on our journey and actually get to someplace that we want to be and not just end up somewhere, right? If we don't have a goal, then it just doesn't matter which way we take, right? So for introspection, I want you to jot out, you don't have to do whole sentences, a paragraph, you're not doing a whole journal, but at least some words to get your mind going as we go through these questions. So number one, why is homeschooling important to you? Why is homeschooling even important to you? How did it land on you? So is it a calling? Were your children suffering in school? You pull them out? Have your children never started school in the traditional academic way? And you decided, I don't think I want them to go into the school system. Why is homeschooling important to you? Write out some words or the memory of what happened, what led you to the point where you're like, I'm going to do this. I don't know how, but I'm going to do this. Why is homeschooling important to you? Number two, I want you to briefly describe how you got on this journey. So for introspection, I want you to jot out, you don't have to do whole sentences, a paragraph, you're not doing a whole journal, but at least some words to get your mind going as we go through these questions. So number one, why is homeschooling important to you? Why is homeschooling even important to you? How did it land on you? So is it a calling? Were your children suffering in school? You pull them out? Have your children never started school in the traditional academic way? And you decided, I don't think I want them to go into the school system. Why is homeschooling important to you? Write out some words or the memory of what happened, what led you to the point where you're like, I'm going to do this. I don't know how, but I'm going to do this. Why is homeschooling important to you? Number two, I want you to briefly describe how you got on this journey. Somewhere along the way, you made a decision and then you had to take some actions, right? Or maybe you're thinking about taking some actions. So what are those actions? Did you withdraw your child from school and say, okay, now we're here. What are we going to do? Did you have someone else who was homeschooling and you said, no, maybe we can do this together? Well, for me, I have been in the school system as a social worker, and I knew that that was not going to be for my children. And then also there was a ministry who was basically helping moms to homeschool. It was a whole group of moms who had done it or been doing it, and they had daily morning calls, and they were sharing all the resources, and that really helped me to get started on this homeschool journey. So what was it for you? What got you started on your homeschool journey? Remember, feel free to pause at any time and write if you want to write down some more, or you could just jot down some ideas, and then you can also just go back at the end and fill in the spaces. Number three, what strengths and positive attributes do you bring to your homeschool? A lot of times parents think, oh, I can never homeschool my child. Like, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I didn't finish high school. I didn't finish my bachelor's degree. It's not something. We're often focused on the negative aspects that we think about ourselves as far as being prepared to homeschool. But I want you to tell me, what are some positive attributes that you do bring to your homeschool? I like to remember myself in the workforce, and those are skills, those are attributes that I can bring in to my homeschool. So I know that I am a creative thinker, and I love learning on the go. And I'm able to expand the concept of learning for myself and as well for my children. So learning for me doesn't have to take place at a desk in a room all the time. And so I think that's wonderful, especially if you have young children. And so fun, creativity, and outings and activities, those are the ways that in our homeschool that we bring the learning on. So what would you say? What would you say are your positive attributes? Write them down. We're looking at area number 4 of introspection. What areas or weaknesses of yours, what areas or weaknesses of mine concern me? What areas or weaknesses of yours concern you. So a lot of people say the same thing about, not having a certain level of education, or I didn't do well in math, or I'm not really good in science. What are the areas that really concern you? And instead of letting them float in your mind and they kind of grow and seem like a mountain, I want you to write them down on the paper. And it might only be 2 or 3 things, but write them down, because we can't address them unless we look at them and tackle them and take a logical approach to dealing with it. So it's really important that we do that. So take it out of your head and put it on the paper. For me, I would definitely say lack of organization. I have big ideas and little follow through. And so those are going to be very challenging, right? So once I can address that, once I take it out of my head and I'm like, yeah, this is a real thing, this is a real area of struggle, then I can put in place what are some things to help me with my follow through, with my lack of organization. What are resources? What are tools? I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you see why it's important for us to address this and put it on paper so we can come back and tackle it later. Area number 6, who am I accountable to and how? Who are you actually accountable to? Is it to your mom? Is it to your mother-in-law? Is it to, who is it? I think that the first entity that I would put that I'm accountable to is, well, 1, I'm accountable to God, and 2, I'm accountable to our principal, which I say is my husband's the principal, I'm the teacher, so I'm accountable to also the principal, and I'm also accountable to the government. So what are the government's rules or guidelines or things that have to be followed for my homeschooling institution, for my journey? And you need to know that too. Depending on what state you are in or what country you are in, you need to know what are the rules, the guidelines, the expectations that you have to follow for successfully and legally homeschooling. Who am I accountable to and how? I think I skipped number 5. What opportunities and resources are available to help you homeschool? So for many people, everybody's like online now, so it doesn't have to be something immediately in your area. If you live in the country, like out in the country, like rural area, and you don't have a lot of support there are lots of homeschool groups. There are homeschool groups on Facebook. There are homeschool groups through the library that they connect through the library. There are ministries. Other resources include free curriculum. For me, the Home Educators Association, I did get a membership with them. And then there's also the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and some resources that I really love are homeschool days at the Nature Center, homeschool days at the aquarium, homeschool days. Everybody's having the zoo has homeschool days. So that's a resource that's really great for a field trip or a different type of experiential learning. And then also, as I mentioned, places like the aquarium and museums have memberships. So you can slot that in on certain days. The first week we go to the aquarium. The second week we go to the museum. The third week we go here or there. So some places have family memberships, and we can visit there monthly, weekly, if you even want to. And then, of course, a major resource that you have is the Teacher's Lounge. And so we're here to support and direct you and give you ideas and the resources that you need. Now we're going to move on to reflection. Homeschooling or not, tell me, how would you describe the last school year? So some of you are new to homeschooling, which is quite wonderful. Welcome. It's going to be an interesting journey at the very least. But last year, how would you describe your last school year? How would you describe your last school year? Was it casual? Do you think it was a good start to homeschooling? It really depends on the ages of your children. But how would you describe it when you reflect on it? Still reflecting, did you happen to set any goals for the last year? If so, jot them down. This is just in reflection. It doesn't have to be associated with the goals that you're going to set for this year, which we are going to get to. But what were the goals that you set for last year? What were the goals? And then, if you had goals, what were they? And then I want you to tell me what worked from last year, whether it was, again, homeschooling or not schooling, what was working for you? What worked last year in your school, if you were traditional academia or homeschooling? I want you to, on two sides, what worked and what didn't work. Was it the schedule? Did you not appreciate waking up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock every morning? Or did you appreciate having the opportunity to let your kids go to bed later and wake up later? And then you were able to start your day with some quiet time. What are some things that worked? Was it the scheduling? Was it the flexibility? Was it the activities? What worked? What didn't work so much? Now we're going to move on to projection. What would make this year great? In one word, in one sentence, however you want to do it. Get something jotted down. What would make this year great? Like, think big, like great, not just make it through, but what would make this year great? If you could accomplish it, or if you had the help, or you had the resources, whatever it was, what would make this homeschool year great? This is between you and you. You don't have to tell anybody. So go ahead and write it down. Then I want to transition to asking you, what would you like to get done in the next homeschool year? What are some goals, what are some things, some tasks that you would like to get done in the next year? Is it that you would like your child to be a stronger reader or learn their letters so that they can move on to reading? Is it that you want to teach them something physical, like how to ride their bike? You want to take the training wheels off the bike? Do you want them to become more proficient in the kitchen or in the practical duties at home? Or do you want to introduce more science into the curriculum? What is it that you would like to see happen in your homeschool in the next year? Now, let's hone it in a little bit. What would you like to get done in the next quarter, right? In the next 3 months. So in the next 3 months, wherever we are, what would you like to see happen in the next 3 months? So get more specific, zone in a little bit more. Now, it has to be something that can actually be measurable and can actually be accomplished in the next 3 months, right? So learning to read might be a really big goal if you want them to go from 0 to 100. So try to be as specific and make it something that is achievable for you and for the children as well. Okay, write something down that 2-3 things is fine, but let's put it on paper. Something that you'd like to get done in the next 3 months. In our next video, we help you craft your God-centered mission and vision for your homeschool so you can homeschool successfully. Let's go.